What is up, everybody? I hope you're having a fantastic evening. You should be, because your San Francisco 49ers are on their way to win number 10. The stat was something like most 10-win seasons since the 80s, what have you. I don't know. The 49ers just kind of do 49er things. Great franchise, always has been, always will be. But we got to talk about this game in particular and then really look forward to the rest of the season, look forward to what's happening around the league, and see what the 49ers' chances are of winning this division, possibly getting the number 1 seed with some other things that have happened today. So we'll talk about that plus more next. All right. Welcome back to Last Second Sports. We are giving you our take down to the last second. As I said, it's post-game rant time. And David coming in full fashion. He's got the 49ers sweatshirt. He's got the Iowa State hat. Good to see you, David.
Oh,
look, what are you eating right now? I'm making me hungry.
Okay, so I've been on this. I monitor everything I eat because long story short, I'm eating cod. Kirkland's signature from Costco, wild caught Alaska Pacific cod. I got entered into my Noom app for because I kind of got off the got a little bit off of my usual and gained a bunch of weight like the last couple of years, lost it all. And so now I try to eat before 7:00. I'm in Central Zone here. So I'm stuffing my face with as much cod as I can put down my gullet. Okay. So when you were putting that video down, I was trying to cover my mouth. But
well, listen, I totally understand. You got 30 minutes before the clock runs out. It's like hitting midnight. I agree, by the way. This is huge. Intermittent fasting is a real deal. Like you shouldn't eat for more than probably a 6-hour window throughout the day, and you probably shouldn't eat past 7, for sure past 8:00. Usually I try to do 6 or 7. So I'm with you, man. I'm with you on the health kick. I'm all for it. But we're going to talk a little bit about this game, brother. So 49ers win this game pretty easily. I mean, it was never really in question. There was like a drive where it was kind of close-ish, but ultimately the 49ers beat the Titans. No surprise here. I mean, I didn't even do a behind enemy lines this week because I was so confident that the 49ers were going to win this game and win it pretty easily. So with that being said, either way, what were your thoughts on this game?
Oh, I think that all in all, you saw what you wanted to out of this defense. Initially, there was a couple busted plays that the Titans could have capitalized on. But again, one of the biggest things, if I start on the defensive side of the ball, you keep going through as Drew Brees is going through the starting lineup. And I mean, just looking at the dearth of really high-end quality talent on the defensive line and the linebacking core, and yet time in and time out, and I know the Titans coming in are 2-11. I get that. But they don't look like a fish out of water. Now, do I think this defense are world beaters? No. But I just want to keep giving a round of applause to Robert Saleh for having these guys who really have become a skeleton crew week in and week out come up, show up, do their jobs, and put it in the next week. Also, the Niners offense today, I thought was balanced. I thought the offensive line looked great in pass protection. I thought that Brock Purdy took what the defense gave him. He didn't force things. He didn't make a lot of turnover-worthy plays. He moved with his feet like I love seeing the play calls to let him get outside the pocket, give him the opportunity to run. Looks like his mobility is not compromised. That's a great thing going into this gauntlet of games against the Colts, the Bears, and the Seahawks.
Yeah, you've got to wonder, like the bye week. Whenever you see a bye week this late in the season, you're like, oh, gosh. The beginning of the season, you're going, man, this is going to be a gauntlet, 13 straight weeks, especially a team that has some older players. Obviously, we're worried about CMC going into this season, worried about Trent Williams. Those guys have been the least of the worries as far as injuries go, at the very least. So that's been good. But then once you get into the season and it starts to play out, and the bye week happens this late, and you know that you're most likely, there is a chance, and it's not that much of an outside chance anymore, but there's a real chance they can get the number 1 seed. But either way, we'll talk about that. But let's assume you don't get the number 1 seed and you don't get the bye. That week 13 or week 14 rather bye week is actually a godsend, and you're seeing it here. You have to wonder if that extra 2 weeks now this late in the season for Brock Purdy was extremely helpful for the toe. I do think that he's been pretty mobile since he's been back. That really hasn't been the issue. A lot of people talk about the high throws and what have you. But I don't know. I don't see any effects. If there was a toe issue going into the bye week, there certainly doesn't seem to be one today.
No.
And that's very, very good news for sure.
I'm not seeing him be ginger with it. I'm seeing him being able to pivot off of that forefoot. I'm seeing him able to, which is huge with turf toe, right? Huge, right? To be able to plant, go, move. Like this is he looks healthy. He looks healthy. He looked confident today. I think Grant had tweeted out it's good for him to get a game out of here and say, hey, we're going to this 3-game streak. I think he had to get that out of his head. Like, am I healthy enough to play? Or, and I think right now, I think that those injury worries should be alleviated for fans. And he's going to be there the next 3 games, knock on wood, along with the rest of the roster, injury free. So yeah, man, I don't think those excuses for anybody, like those can go out the window. Like he's playing, he's ready, he's rolling, he's ready to go.
So one guy though that can't seem to stay healthy, he got hurt literally like the first play of the game. What was it? I think it was the first play. Ricky Pearsall gets hurt.
Yep.
It's like, oh gosh, man, he gets the catch. And then all of a sudden he's hurt. He's out for a few plays or the rest of that drive. He comes back, has himself a hell of a game, which you love to see. And then he gets hurt again. Now, I don't remember what knee the PCL injury was on, but it seemed to be his right knee that he banged on the turf in this game towards the end. And that's exactly how he hurt his PCL the first time. So again, maybe it's not even the same knee. Maybe it was his left knee. But if it was his right knee and that's the knee that he hit again, I am concerned that he re-aggravated that injury on that final play. And he went to the blue medical tent twice essentially in this game, seemingly for knee things. I don't know, man. I hope that he's healthy. Kendrick Bourne, who's been put completely on the shelf, to me at this stage in his career, can do a lot of the same things as Pearsall. He's a shifty route runner, almost a herky-jerky route runner in the sense that they always find a way to get open, but they're not necessarily on time in their routes. So I think that there's a lot of similarities there, but you want to see Ricky Pearsall stay healthy for weeks. And every time that he's been healthy for weeks, it's almost as if he doesn't get the ball to stay healthy. And then once he gets the ball fed to him, he gets injured again. It's like this, I don't know, man. It's so frustrating. It's got to be frustrating for him. I hope that he's okay. They're going to need him down the stretch.
Yeah. I mean, look, I thought that Ricky did a great job today with his routes. I thought Juwan Jennings did a great job coming back to balls. I thought Kendrick Bourne did a nice job near the end of the game doing that on bailing out some situations. But yeah, without Ricky Pearsall, when you're looking at a room of DeMarcus Robinson, Juwan Jennings, and Kendrick Bourne, Jordan Watkins, healthy scratch. I mean, this is it. There's nobody else coming through that door, right? For the playoff run. And this team has got, what is it? I didn't even look what the percentage chances with the Rams pulling out the win against the Lions, with the Seahawks pulling out the win against the Colts. But the Niners still, I think it's up still over 80% chance, almost 90% chance of making the playoffs as it stands right now. I think they're locked into the number 6 spot currently. Okay. But yeah, so you're looking at that though. When you get into the higher caliber defenses and teams that you're going to see near the end of this regular season in the playoffs, look, you're going to need more than CMC, Juice, and Kittle, right? And all due respect to Juwan Jennings and DeMarcus Robinson and Kendrick Bourne, but if Ricky Pearsall isn't there, today, there was some impressive route running from him. He drew the DPI in the end zone, right? He was the catalyst in having three, I think it was 2 3rd and longs where he's near the boundary, but he's open because he's putting defenders on skates. Like he's a valuable skill set. But again, Jesse, like you talked about this, and he struggled with this at Arizona State and Florida. He's struggling to stay healthy. And already an older player coming into the NFL, I hope that he gets this rectified. I hope this is just a hiccup, but we're starting to see a pattern that's becoming a little troubling about how you're going to be able to count on him going forward in the ensuing years.
Yeah, man, it's rough. We'll see. I mean, we'll see what this one is, but yeah, it always seems like he's getting nicked up. Overall, though, how impressed were you with the 49ers offense? I get it. It's tough to take a lot from a game versus a team that has 2 wins and you're at home coming off of a bye. It should look good. But at the same time, you talked a lot about Purdy early on
Yep.
when you were just giving overall game thoughts. And the biggest, most impressive thing is that he's taking care of the football the last 2 games that he's played. I don't care, if
100%.
it's I don't care who it is against. To me, there's good decisions and there's bad decisions. And I will say, the decision to throw back across his body to Kendrick Bourne, not ideal, because those are the types of plays that will eventually get you picked off and have some turnovers. But ultimately, overall, very, very efficient game from Brock Purdy, back-to-back games, essentially. What did you see from this offense overall?
I mean, first of all, we talked about this last week against Cleveland. 2 consecutive weeks with phenomenal third down, fourth down efficiency, 10 for 16 on third down. This was not just 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1 QB sneaks. These were 3rd and 10. These were 3rd and 13s. That's what you want to see. And regardless of what you want to say about anybody, those are the things that I think that I want to absolutely got to give a little round of applause to Brock on those situations. He's got great pass protection today, but he's not panicking these last 2 weeks. You saw it against Carolina, just like that crazy game where it's just like, my goodness, could this have been 5 interceptions? A la the week 1 against Seattle. Calm down, take what the defense gives you, trust the guys in front of you, trust your legs. And I'm starting to think that maybe he is trusting that foot a lot more, that he's a lot calmer with his footwork. He's a lot calmer outside of the pocket. He's not sitting there and I just hope that Iowa State junior and senior year Brock Purdy doesn't come back. I want to keep that in the closet, right? Let's keep this last, week 14 and week 15 Brock Purdy alive. And I think what that means is you're not trying to do more than who you are. Do what Kyle schemes up. Trust your players. Trust your ability to step up in the pocket when necessary. Take a sack if you have to, and live to see another day. And he's doing that. And so the 3rd and 4th down conversions are amazing. The 430 total yards, wonderful, especially when you started to play a little bit more conservative at the end. You averaged over 6 yards a play. Yards per pass, 9.1 today to box score scout it. But I think what you saw there was, not a ton of deep stuff, but enough. And enough of those 3rd and long conversions that kind of give you faith that this team can hang in there when the going gets rough against better opponents. That being said, again, it's the Tennessee Titans. And so I think that coming into next week, and I know the Colts are down Daniel Jones, but you're going to go into a volatile situation at Lucas Oil Field. You're going to come back and play a hot Chicago Bears team, maybe the hottest team in the NFL. You're going to come in and then play the Seattle Seahawks, who are riding high after this nail biter to stay a game ahead of the Niners. So that being said, the Niners have built confidence as well. Look like they're getting healthier, except for Ricky. See what happens.
One thing that we do have to point out is, I don't know how this happens every single week, but here goes CMC at 3.3 yards a carry again. It's just like every single week. It's like clockwork with this guy, man. It doesn't matter who they play, what's going on. Outside of 2 or 3 games, it's like 3.1 to 3.6 yards a carry every single week. I don't even know how it happens. My biggest thing is, like, they're staying consistent with the running game, which is good to see, but it's just not that effective, man. And I feel like once teams figure it out, they're just going to be like, you know what? We're going to have light boxes, almost make you beat us with the run at this point, because it just doesn't seem to be going that way. If you bite on play action with the team that's averaging like 3.5 yards per carry on the season, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And you're just allowing free runners to get behind you for easy completions on dig routes and what have you. I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. But overall, it does seem to me like this offense is gonna kind of have to carry the load. And I feel like we've been talking about this for a couple seasons, let alone all this year, once the injuries started happening on defense. But the defense is, I don't know, was the offense more impressive or the defense less impressive in this game going against the Tennessee Titans?
I mean, I will say this. I think that Brock played well today. And I think that Brock was a big reason, the biggest reason on offense why they were able to execute in those third down situations. The run game, though, the why it's troubling is you have 31 carries for 94 yards. Okay. That's right on 3.01 yards per carry. Okay. And then, so that was McCaffrey averaging 3.3, Brian Robinson averaging 2.3.
And that was with the 26-yard run from Brock.
No, well, I didn't include Brock's. So I'm
including
I'm including Christian McCaffrey and Brian Robinson. I'm not including quarterback scrambles.
I was like, wow, that's really bad, actually.
Yeah. So no, but even with Brock's, if we put it in there, the team averaged 3.6. So that's Brock inflated that. Okay. So with Christian and Brian, we're having 31 carries between them, which is about as many carries you probably should have between running backs in the modern NFL. You know, that is and again, milking a lead. I don't think Kyle ever felt panicked. That's why you didn't do an enemy lines. I don't think any of us were ever watching this game, even when it got to 17-10, even when it could have been tied up. If Cam Ward, can play like an NFL quarterback and from a clean pocket and just hit a wide open receiver with 10 yards of separation, right? That even then, I was not worried about this team being able to break away or run away with that or make this game a trap game or anything like that. So I just think that, again, we knew this at the beginning of the season. That the schedule on paper was the easiest in the NFL. It truly, no hyperbole, has completely lived up to that. It is not just some fluke. Like, it really has been the easiest schedule in the NFL. And I think, I mean, there were some things like, yeah, but all teams get better. But I think a lot of us were like, yeah, but I don't think you realize, like, these teams didn't get better, right? So that being said, you're in a division with two teams, the Rams and the Seahawks, who are absolutely teams that you have to contend with. This next 3 weeks, you're going to see. Now, again, Sauce Gardner is hurt. Daniel Jones is hurt, right? But the Colts just gave the Seahawks, a very good Seattle team, everything they could handle today. The big thing with Seattle today is that they just kicked 6 field goals, right? And that's what happens.
Field goals.
When you don't convert, when you settle for field goals, it makes you look worse than you are. Seattle absolutely outplayed Indianapolis through most of this game. They just couldn't, but that's scoring points is kind of the point of football, right? So, you kept it too close by settling for 3. And this is why I wish teams would go for it in situations, even when it's like 4th and 6, 4th and 7 on occasion. I think that you're looking at this going into some good teams. The better run defense is this Tennessee Titans run defense is not a good run defense. I'm interested to see what defenses do when they're more confident against the run and realize that the 49ers have basically trotted out the same box score, the same results every single week. And so there's a blueprint for what the 49ers do. Can Brock elevate his game where he's being decisive, where he's got zip on his throws, where he's delivering on time? Those are the things. And that's one thing I would say about Brock today. Brock had the opportunity today to wait a little bit longer because the protection was really good. I got eviscerated on a TL, even though I was praising Brock left and right for all these other things that he did. I'm still seeing, I don't think it's the toe at all. Not a lot of zip on the throws. A lot of throws floating in the air, waiting a long time to get there. People say, well, to hit him between the numbers. Not the point. We didn't say it was bad ball placement. Didn't say the ball wasn't accurate. Right? It's about timing. It's about when you release the ball, but it's also the arm strength to get the ball there when you need to. And I think that when you get into some of these better teams who are going to be healthier or in the playoffs, those things matter. We've seen those things matter against teams that have better pass defenses than what the Titans did today. So that being said, this 49ers team is 10-4. They have situated themselves as well as I think that they possibly could have, given all the attrition that they've had on defense, given all the injuries that they've had to deal with on offense. But I know we're going to talk about this. These next 3 post-game shows are going to be the most interesting, folks. Like these December leading into January is really we're going to kind of see what this team is made of.
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of people have taken what you said pretty out of context with your You said, this is remained the easiest schedule, or one of the easiest schedules, and it really, the teams hadn't really improved. And people are like, well, what about the Bears and the Colts? It's like they haven't played them yet. They haven't played them yet. Like
okay, guys?
That's the point. He said
look, okay. I'm a high school teacher. I teach AP Human Geography, AP World History, U.S. History. Folks,
what about the teams they haven't played yet, though, David?
Like in history, we talk about anachronisms. So that the idea that if something hasn't happened yet, you can't say that it's a cause of something else, or obviously, but if it hasn't happened yet, then, well, it's not in the historical record. So the schedule that they've played so far has been the easiest because also it wasn't just the teams on paper, it was the teams in order of which they played them. Well, now I've also just got done saying in the last 5 to 10 minutes about how these next 3 games are going to be the hardest stretch of the season, as I've been saying ad nauseum in all of our post-game shows. So anyway, go crazy in the comments, please. I don't even know I don't even know how to say this anymore. I don't know if there's a computation. I don't know if there's a combination of how much praise or positive things you can say couched with nuanced just understanding of X before you just, everybody they played is awesome. Everybody they played next is going to be awesome. Everybody's awesome. And we're happy holidays.
I guess, I don't know. You have to spell everything out. Otherwise people want to take everything. It's like, yes, individual teams have improved. Other teams have gotten worse. The overall point is the schedule has still been very, very easy. And that's what we knew it to be coming into the season. Do we have to be that hyperbolic is the question. My goodness, if we have to spell things out that much, well, I guess it makes sense. I understand why a lot of the things I say get taken out of context now, because you got to be very specific. All right. Joseph says this team can't run or stop the run. I don't want to hear any positivity on this team with this performance. Easily the worst playoff team right now. Oh, I don't know if they're the worst playoff team right now. Listen, you can't be negative after a win. I mean, we can be honest, but we're not going to eviscerate a team after a win. That's just not going to happen. 808 Niner, unless it was against the Panthers, because that was an awful performance. 808 Niner says still can't stop the run or rush the passer. Old Man Rivers almost won today, and the Bears smoked the Browns. We really could go 0-3 down the stretch.
Okay, so here's the thing. This is what I'm talking about, though, the flip side of the 49ers run offense being, we box score scout the score. Mm-hmm. But then when you really look at the efficiency, this 49ers run defense isn't that good. They've gone up in certain situations where they face some teams that aren't that good at running the ball. But when you're going to go up against a team, against Jonathan Taylor, okay, against a Ben Johnson offense that's dynamic, against a Seahawks offense that has been dynamic, and it's going to be interesting. So when the Titans have Cam Ward, who's really, all due respect to Cam Ward, scares nobody, as evidenced by him missing Van Jefferson. Cam Ward should not have gone in the first round.
I know.
I mean,
with all due respect, scares nobody. Yeah.
No, I mean, Cam Ward, I didn't even have a second round grade on Cam Ward. I'm sorry. And I know people can argue with me, and I will be glad to do that. And I'm not been right on all my quarterback evaluations coming out of the draft. I get that. But Tony Pollard today, like you said, 14 for 104. Tyjae only had 3 touches for 34. Tyjae Spears.
Mm-hmm.
They averaged, 9 to 10 yards between the two of them. So I get what you're saying. I also think that the Niners were comfortable in allowing the Titans to continue to run the ball late in the game when they were up multiple scores. And I think that's also context that you need to consider. That being said, you cannot say, when you look at the Niners roster right now, you cannot say that you're confident in this defensive line and linebacking core in the run game against offenses that are elite at running the ball. And I think that is going to be something that we just haven't seen because of this schedule. We just have not seen a challenge. The Rams, the biggest challenge the 49ers have faced, they beat them with Mac Jones under center. The Jaguars, who, by the way, are looking like absolute world beaters right now. Now, granted, against maybe some lower competition, they're putting points on the board. Their defense is coming to play. We lost the Jaguars. Okay. Seahawks, week 1. Boy, that was a coin flip of a game. Outside of the Seahawks, the Rams, and the Jaguars, Jesse, can you help me out a little bit? Have they played a team, a playoff caliber team, that would put other than Tampa lost? I think it's relevant. I think it's fair to say I don't know if the 49ers have truly been tested that much, and we know that they will be here in December. So I'm excited. I want to see, as a 49ers fan, to say, like, okay, I don't want to get too amped up because I want to see it, but I'm sorry, man. I've seen this movie before. At 43 years old, a lifelong Niners fan. Okay. I've seen this movie before. I want to see what happens when they're going up against teams that are going to push it. And now we're going up into Indianapolis, and all due respect to Philip Rivers, and anytime anybody says all due respect, it means they don't respect you. Okay. So, but
want to be clear.
Yeah. Like, and I'm not a big look. I wasn't a Daniel Jones train guy either. I thought people were. Daniel Jones actually had been playing pretty poor in the last several weeks, in the last month, being himself. And I think that this Colts team is not as vaunted as people think they are, but boy, they're a tough team. And in that house, they're going to be amped up, ready to go. It is going to be interesting, man. And I want to see how much Jonathan Taylor, what kind of pressure he can put, because I think it's going to be a tight game. I think it's going to be a barn burner.
You know, what concerns me the most, a lot of people, are talking about the pass rush and stuff, which is true. What concerns me the most is the run defense down the stretch, right? And when we look at the last 4 teams that they've played, okay, so first of all, the 49ers are like middle of the pack as far as yards per attempt allowed. They allow 4.2 yards per carry, which is much more than they average, by the way. But the teams that they've played the last 4 games, so Tennessee is 31st in rush attempts per game, so they don't stick to the running game. Arizona's 28th. They don't stick to the running game. Cleveland is 25th. Now, Carolina is 8th in running attempts per game, but in that game, if you remember, they abandoned the run completely. I think they only had like 9 attempts or something like that. So for some reason, they abandoned the run. But what I'm excited to see is the final 2 weeks of the season in particular. Chicago leads the league in rushing attempts per game at 31.2, and Seattle's 4th at 29.6. So these 2 teams are not going to stop running the football, and I think that that's going to answer some of the running defense questions for me. I'm not saying that they can't buck up and stop the run, but to me, it seems like this run defense has been leaky at times. And we even, we saw it today as far as yards per attempt go. I mean, they gave up quite a bit. We've seen it really throughout the course of the year. It's just teams have been bad and have fallen behind the 49ers and haven't stuck with the run. Right. Or, even if they played from ahead for some reason, they haven't stuck with the run. And so I'm just curious to see what it looks like against Seattle and Chicago. Yes, they played Seattle week 1. That was a long time ago. And that was with Fred Warner and Nick Bosa and what have you. So I'm just curious. Again, I'm not saying they can't do well against the run. When you see it a minimal amount and it doesn't look great, it can concern you, but we'll see when a team is fully committed to the run and then you got a defensive game plan that's committed to stopping the run because of that, how it plays out. In those final 2 weeks, we're going to see exactly that. So I'm just really curious to see how it plays out. I am. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Agreed.
And Jerm the Grower says, is it wrong that I don't feel excited about a 10-4 team? I don't think that it's wrong. I think that it's just should be cautiously optimistic because, again, I feel like I say this every week and I still feel this way. Like, we should feel great that they're 10-4. I don't care what the schedule is, but when you look at the injuries and all that, we should feel great about being 10-4. But the ultimate goal is not to be 10-4 with 3 weeks left in the season. The ultimate goal is to go win playoff games. And so when I look at it from that lens, I don't know what this team is. I truly do not know what this team is. And to me, that is the strangest feeling to have after 14 games played. It is. Is this defense any good? Truly? Can this offense move the ball on a regular basis with averaging 3.5 yards per carry? Like, I don't know. I've got to see it play out against some of these better teams. And unfortunately, we don't get to see a lot of that this year. And, division games, you talked about impressive wins. The 49ers, to me, outside of the two division games, so Seahawks and Rams, so one was week 1, one was like week 5, they don't have an impressive win on this schedule, do they? I mean, is there an impressive team that they've beaten outside of those two within the first 5 weeks of the season, honestly?
The Rams and the who?
And the Seahawks? Is there an impressive win on this schedule
and
outside of those two?
And to be fair, like to say, like, hey, so week 1, you could say, well, outside of these two, but I mean, I think it's important to acknowledge that, hey, you have beat two teams.
It's an important real quick. It's important to acknowledge that, one, that was early in the season, and two, that is two division games. Like, division games can get squirrely. You see bad division teams beat good division teams all the time because they know each other and they're not fearful. But is there a win on this schedule that's impressive outside of those two?
No,
I don't know that there is.
And I think that you go back to that Seattle game, is they got bailed out. I mean, you play the games, but boy, you could ask anybody in that locker room. They got a little bit lucky there, right, against Seattle. The Rams game, that was an absolute, like, again, defense gets eviscerated the entire game. Mac Jones coming in cold, playing his butt off, right, wins that game. These are still, like, they're big time wins, right? The bottom line is, what we're talking about here is, I understand where you say you don't know what this team is, because we haven't seen the iteration of this team together, healthy, ready to go. And we do know that Fred Warner and Nick Bosa aren't coming in that door. This defense is not as good as you guys think. Cleveland Browns, again, their touchdowns, all of the 49ers touchdown drives last week, 2 weeks ago, excuse me, 32-yard line, 14-yard line, 16-yard line. That's where you started with the ball. Okay. The Tennessee Titans had a better offensive output against the Cleveland Browns last week. The Chicago Bears today, going up against the Cleveland Browns, 31-3. Nothing like crazy, but just methodical stuff. 5.6 yards per play, 361 total yards, which I think beat the Niners by 130. This is, we don't know what this team is. And I think that's kind of fun, right? To be like 10-4, like, wow, we got a 90% chance of making the playoffs. I feel pretty good. There is no way in hell I thought that when Brock went down, it was going to be as gone as long as he was. And when Fred Warner, when we were in Tampa and watched Fred get carted off the field, right? Nick Bosa, I mean, I'm the first person to tell you I was dead ass wrong about the record. Now, I thought they'd be feisty, but to be 10-4 in this situation,
it's impressive.
It's impressive.
And
like you said, though, we can still say that and still say we don't know, because it wasn't that long ago, a couple weeks ago, where we were playing the Carolina Panthers in prime time and absolutely looked like dog water.
Yeah.
And if not for short fields and turnovers and fourth turnover on downs where Kevin Stefanski is, going for it in weird situations on direct snaps to Harold Fannin, that game could be different too. Today, I don't think this game was close. I thought the Niners dominated for what they given their opponent. I thought they had the game in hand the entire time. 100%. That's exactly what you want to see. And we talked about that last week. That being said, things are going to get interesting these next 3 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, and even the Colts, I don't know. I don't.
Oh, I'm not worried about the Colts.
Yeah, me neither. To me, it's the other two. That's what I'm worried about. Because the Colts defense is, listen, they did a good job against Seattle today. Sam Darnold I'm sorry. Maybe I'm the biggest hater when it comes to that guy. I think that he plays too tight down the stretch of seasons when they need him most. And I feel like today was another great example of that. They just couldn't punch it in the end zone. Ultimately, though, the Colts defense is without their top two corners, without their best defensive linemen. Like, this just shouldn't be a game that the 49ers lose at all. And so I expect that the 49ers win that. To me, I'm just really interested in the final 2 weeks of the regular season. That's what I really want to see. I want to see Chicago and I want to see Seattle. And I like
Same.
that it's in Santa Clara. Both those games are in Santa Clara. And we're going to talk about the path to the number 1 seed. It's very viable. There's a couple things we got to root for, but it's very, very viable. We're going to talk about going around the league here in a second. But first, we do got to talk about our sponsor, Sleeper. Get a 100% deposit match of up to $100 using promo code LSS. Link is pinned to the top of the description. You also can get a free $20 play by using promo code LSS. You don't even have to make a deposit. There is no reason to not play Sleeper with those types of things going on. And by the way, Sleeper always gives you a free pick. And that's what they're giving us tonight. We got to squeeze this in before the Sunday night football game. We're taking Dak to get himself 1 passing yard. That's all we need. We just need the more on that. Now the question is what do we do with the rest of these things? Do we think that George Pickens gets in the end zone?
Ooh, boy. This is an interesting situation.
Or CeeDee Lamb.
Oh boy. And I think that's just always a coin flip. And in those situations, I probably prioritize Pickens because of just his ability to be a red zone target and his body control. I mean, this is tough. Let's look at some of the Vikings.
Okay, yeah. No, we can pick other things. For now, I've got Pickens. I'm gonna take it, but
okay.
Let's go Vikings. Let's go Vikings. Justin Jefferson, anytime TD. JJ McCarthy, 196.5 passing yards.
I'm gonna say yes on okay. McCarthy. I think it's just one of those things where I think the Cowboys. I could be wrong on this. I think the Cowboys win this game. I think the Vikings are going to be forced to pass the ball a lot. I'm not impressed entirely by the Dallas secondary. I don't think Justin Jefferson gets in the end zone because Justin Jefferson has really struggled to be targeted reliably by JJ McCarthy. But I think it would be pretty wild if McCarthy can't eclipse 196. So I'd like to give McCarthy the over on that.
Can we go TJ Hawkinson more on 2.5 receptions? Like that's gotta be. They've got
100% in the last several weeks. That's what he's been a safety valve. Okay. Absolutely.
All right. And then what else do we want to do? You know what? I don't want to play loose and fast with my money here. So I'm just gonna enter that. We're gonna put 10 on it.
It's fine.
10 for 41. We'll submit that. And then we got some scratch in on the Sunday night football game. You can too. Download the Sleeper app. Link is in the description, pinned at the top there. Use promo code LSS. It's that easy. Get a free $20 play. All right. Let's talk about what actually, before we talk about the possibilities around the league, there was something pretty big that happened this week, and I want to get your opinion on it. And I actually haven't talked about it either. It kind of happened over the last 24-ish hours. No surprise, by the way, but Brandon Ayuk is officially done as a 49er, essentially. We knew it was coming, but, John Lynch had his weekly radio thing, and Shanahan, and, hey, we know we're a better team with Ayuk, and gosh, he's still trying to get back, and we know if we have him, it'll really help us, and I know that we took all of his money and all of that, but we still are really hoping that he plays for us this season, which we always knew was BS. But now that it's official, give me your thoughts on the Brandon Ayuk situation, man.
This front office is a clown show, and you can quote me on that. I don't care what people say in the comments. I know for a fact, and you can argue with the wall because there's just certain things I can't say. But there are adults in the building at 4949 Centennial in Santa Clara. Unfortunately, John Lynch is too emotional to allow some of those adults to let cooler heads prevail. And in these situations where with Brandon Ayuk, here's the thing about Brandon Ayuk. He is a dude who would not bend a knee. And I've talked with my guys, Jesse and others. I've talked with other people. I've talked with one of my real close friends who has I'm just going to tell you what I can tell you. One of my real close friends has an incredible finger on the pulse of what's going on here. One of my Iowa State guys. And you could say what you want about Brandon. You can say he's been a diva. The bottom line of him is that there's more important things than money. People do like, oh, you threw away a lot of money. He does not care. He does not care. Brandon Ayuk cared more about being respected by John Lynch. And you can say that you disrespect that, and that's fine. I get it. But Brandon Ayuk said, okay, I'm going to be sit here and you're going to talk about me like I'm a child. You're going to air this dirty laundry. You're going to launder it through Adam Schefter and Diana Rossini and Michael Silver, always, always looking for a scoop that John can give him. Okay. Brandon says, fine, do that. Throw me under the bus. I'm not doing this. And when you take away you void my guaranteed money and you think that's just like gonna fly for a guy like Brandon Ayuk, no. He is more concerned about saying, you know what? I get to play with my best friend next year in Washington. I get to be a Commander. Screw my guaranteed money. I get to go and be happy. I get to go and work a job, a kid's sport. I get paid to play a kid's sport, and I get to catch footballs for my best friend. Guys, sometimes those things are more important than money, particularly when you feel like you're getting disrespected. And I can just say this one thing. John Lynch needs to be able to back off, stay out of the way, and just let personalities be what they are. But instead, John Lynch could not handle it. John Lynch could not handle that Kyle Shanahan ran up the stairs at the last minute at the 11th hour and said, we need to sign this guy. Kyle Shanahan loves Brandon Ayuk. John Lynch does not. It is as simple as that. And when their egos started to clash, there's plenty of blame. I guess you could go both ways. That's fine. But the goal, I thought, Jesse, is to win a Super Bowl. And you can tell me that when you're looking at this receiver room and with Ricky Pearsall going into the blue tent, to have a guy like Brandon Ayuk not being the guy, the most look, Jesse and I were at the NFC Championship again. You can argue with a wall. I don't care what the box score says. We watch the game. You all watch the game. Brandon Ayuk was the most influential player on that offense in sending our 49ers to an opportunity to win number 6. I will go to my grave 100% asserting that. This man is one of the most silky smooth route runners in the NFL. He works out throughout the season like a dog. He is a student of the game. He makes this team better. But John Lynch doesn't like a guy who is his own person. John Lynch wants everybody else to be in the Cabo clique. Brandon Ayuk ain't that guy. Brandon Ayuk wasn't looking to be the BFF at the country club. Brandon Ayuk said, you're going to disrespect me? I know your business. I know, John Lynch, that you launder stuff through the media. I know you like to use your media connections that you use as a commentator to elevate yourself and put me through the ringer. I ain't that guy, though, brother. And that's what happened. For those of you who want to keep score at home, there's some stuff going on there. And the bottom line is, as a 49ers fan, I'm livid that the 49ers weren't able to put egos aside and say, let's get this going. But when you void guarantees, when you take bread off somebody's table, that's the dagger, man. That's the nail in the coffin. You can say whatever you want. But this noise, this circus of like, oh yeah, we're still leaving it open if he wants to come back. Just stop it. Stop it. Those of us with a reading comprehension score above 17 on the ACT understand that this is a joke. This is smoke and mirrors. This is just PR. So no, I'm still heated. Brandon was my favorite 49er. I'm happy for him. Do I think he could have handled things better? Sure. Do I think, though, that John Lynch could have handled things better? Absolutely. Yes. So there's blame to go around. But the way this was handled was sophomoric. It was immature. And it was not something that helps your team be better. And the last time I checked, that was the goal. And now that you're 10-4, boy, wouldn't it be nice to have Brandon Ayuk right now?
Yeah, it would be nice. It's interesting because it's almost as if, I could be wrong on this, but it feels like that Brandon Ayuk, even with the voided contract, actually was still contemplating on playing. He wanted to play. He's been healthy for quite some time now.
Yep.
That I do know. And the 49ers kept holding him out, probably trying to shop him to see if they can get anything for him, which they knew was not going to happen at the trade deadline. He hadn't played a snap. even then, it felt like there was a possibility that he wanted to showcase his talent for the next team and would have been willing to come back. But and my evidence to kind of point towards that is it as soon as that report came out that they took his money away, that's when he was on Instagram and was like, bye, I'm not coming back. Like
Yes.
he basically posted that right away. It's like, you know what? If we're gonna play this game in the media, like if we could have just kept this under wraps till the end of the season, so it looked like we're playing amicably here. I'll come back and play. You guys could use me. I could use the showcase of my talent, and let's make this thing work. But the moment that it came out through the media, it's like, that's it.
Yep.
And it almost seems like the 49ers, whether, you know, that's Lynch or I don't think it was Shanahan, but, you know, Lynch, Parag, whoever, it seemed like the 49ers were more interested on getting the upper hand and making it seem like Brandon Ayuk's a bad guy and not worth keeping around versus actually trying to make a run with him on the roster for the rest of the year and then figuring it out at the end of the year. That's at least the way it comes across to me. Now, again, Brandon Ayuk definitely is not without culpability here. He made plenty of mistakes along the way. The 49ers have made mistakes, but there is not a single relationship that goes sour. And this is life. This is not a football thing. This is a life thing. There is not a single relationship that goes sour that two parties or all the parties involved didn't play some part. Now, that doesn't mean that one part wasn't, you know, bigger by one side or the other, but there are things that you can always look back on. You should never look at it and play the victim and be like, whoa, how did that happen to me? It's like, no. You played a part too, man. You can grow from this. So Ayuk definitely played his part. The 49ers played their part. It's just overall, it's unfortunate because the 49ers really could use him down the stretch. They really could.
So here's the thing, though, about Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk has never been a diva player. Brandon Ayuk has never been a bad teammate. Brandon Ayuk has never been a guy that did do anything different in fighting for a contract like Trent Williams or Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa stayed in Florida, folks. Like, guys, and there's nothing wrong with that. You should make as much bread as possible. And I do agree with Jesse. The fact there is culpability. And you're very right in saying in any relationship that goes sour, to absolve any party from having any culpability is foolish. We understand that. My whole thing is that paradigmatically, you operate on this idea like, oh, that's a lot. Jesse and I have talked about this behind the scenes, like, oh, that's a lot of money to leave on the table. I'm like, that's what makes me understand that Brandon is a different cat. And I was told 2 years ago, my goodness, I was on the phone with Ricky the dog of all people, believe it or not. Okay. And when the Browns had made a trade offer and Ricky was on top of it, and we were talking about all this situation, and I'm walking to Levi's to go to training camp with my guy, Jesse and Isaiah, and on the bike path to Levi's. And I'm going back to that. Kyle Shanahan, whom 49ers fans, I'm assuming most of the people in the comment section respect a great deal, will admit that he's one of the most crucial elements to the success of this team. He's the one that wringed John Lynch's neck and said, you do not trade him. Okay. That being said, they had the opportunity to do so. There were many suitors. And yes, did Brandon Ayuk say no to the Browns? 100%. Did Brandon Ayuk want to force his way elsewhere? Yes. Were there teams he was willing to play for? Yes. Did they have trade suitors in line with decent capital? 100%. But at the end of the day, Kyle Shanahan said, we're making this work. And this is the rub. When Kyle Shanahan does that, that's when John Lynch, you need to back off. If you sign off, if you have equal power, which I know John Lynch has more power than a lot of Niners fans think he does. But once you've done that contract, get out of the way. We know you don't like each other. We know that Brandon and John were not on great terms, even though the difference is, though, Brandon.
We knew that from the handshake. Like that was very. I remember the infamous handshake at the 50-yard line or whatever.
We were there. We were there that day, July 31st. We were there. Okay. Kyle, though, and Brandon had some moments themselves. But the difference between that is that Kyle and Brandon were able to iron things out like men. John was not. And John continued to be himself. And in the situation where the voided money was a mystery, John was always like, Ant, hey, he's just not healthy enough to play. Jesse and I and some others knew this was false. And now it's come to fruition. There's a lot of things that we can't put out on the TL that we get because it's confidential stuff. And I know it sounds like you could say like, oh, you guys are trying to be clout fishers. That's fine. Do whatever you can believe whatever you want. It does not matter to me. I will go to the grave understanding that this is the truth. I'm not getting followers from this. I don't get money from it. I don't have a blue check. It does not matter to me. Okay. Kyle wanted this to work with Brandon. Once, though, 3 or 4 weeks ago, John Lynch needed attention. John Lynch cannot help himself, cannot stop himself from going to his media connections. And John Lynch unilaterally muddies the waters and puts this out here, to which Brandon says, oh, is this the way this game is going to be played? Okay. So, by the way, Brandon Ayuk will be having an opportunity to air his side, and he will be sharing his side, and he will, and it's going to look real interesting for the 49ers. The bottom line, it doesn't help anybody. There's a lot of drama there, a lot of Jerry Springer stuff. But when a guy who's put his ass on the line, like Brandon Ayuk did, Brandon Ayuk tore up his knee in Levi's Stadium against the Kansas City Chiefs. He has put his body on the line, bailed this team out in multiple situations, sent this team to the Super Bowl. And then you're coming off an injury like he incurred last October. And then to be thrown to the bus by your general manager indirectly. I'm sorry, guys. Like, you can't, these guys are humans. I've had a lot of great people on this app talk about, oh, we got to remember the human factor. We got to remember the mental health issues. We got to remember what these guys deal with. I'm sorry, guys. Like, some of these guys don't play like that. And Brandon's is just one of those dudes. And he is totally comfortable within his own skin with the money he's made. It's not about the money, man. It's about the respect. And regardless of what you think, that's his mantra. And guess what? Brandon's out. Brandon will play next year in the NFL. He will get a good deal. Brandon Ayuk will have a good NFL career, and he's going to be happier. The 49ers don't have him. They do have the free salary cap space, which is awesome. What you do with that, that's anyone's guess. But right now, well, I don't know.
It just, I guess, like there is, okay, so the plus side of this is that you're going to have that free money, which is going to be huge. The downside of this is he's not going to help you this year.
Yep.
And you're almost guaranteed because of him not being on this team. There's a big possibility Jennings isn't on this team. And Ricky Pearsall is good for a game here or there at this point and can't stay healthy. Like, they're almost guaranteed to have to go wide receiver round 1 or certainly round 2, knowing that you need offensive linemen too. And so, that's those are the downside things of it. So it's not a win-win by any means. And then, for Brandon Ayuk too, it's like, it's not a clear path to making that kind of money ever again. He may not ever make that kind of money again. I told you that I think he's risking being the next OBJ from a standpoint of, for the next 3 or 4 years, he's going to be a hired gun one season at a time. That's a possibility too. He's gonna probably sign a 1-year prove-it deal somewhere, and maybe he gets paid because of that and gets a multi-year deal. But also maybe he doesn't. So it is a calculated risk. So we'll see. Yep. We'll see what happens on both sides of this. But it is unfortunate that they were unable to just make this work, and it's just so weird that two sides. Brandon Ayuk and the 49ers both agreed to this deal and almost universally wish that they hadn't. It's this. I don't know that I've ever seen anything like it. It's interesting to say the least.
Well, I'll just say this, though, that I just want to make it clear. This is where, Jesse, I disagree with you about the 1-year prove-it deal.
Yeah.
And I've told you this before, is that I think people are thinking, and I'm not saying you are, I think that people think that, oh, he has this reputation as a diva.
Oh, I don't think that at all.
I don't think you do either. I know you don't. But I'm saying, like, that people might assume that. And that because of that John Lynch, like, oh, nobody's going to want to touch Brandon Ayuk because bull. fill in the blank. There are teams right now that would absolutely love to have Brandon Ayuk in the building in this playoff run.
Yeah. Yeah.
Guys, Brandon Ayuk is going to be an incredibly desirable commodity for so many teams out there. And the Washington Commanders are a team. You're seeing it right now. You're seeing what's happening with this team. They're the New England Patriots today. You don't think the New England Patriots could use a Brandon Ayuk skill set? Brandon Ayuk, at his best, when healthy, in my opinion, is the best route runner in the NFL. But he's also a plus athlete. He's got great hands. He's scheme diverse. He has utility as a return man if you really want him to be, but I wouldn't put him in that situation. His body control, his ball tracking is top level. This dude is fully healthy, and if anything, here's the thing, guys. He tore up his knee in October of 2024. Guess what? He has no tread on his tires this year. Zero. This kid has had the opportunity to completely, fully recover, be in a situation. I just don't buy it that he's not going to be a hot commodity. I get the 1-year prove-it deal because you haven't seen him play healthy. But I can also remember players like Dre Greenlaw being rushed back after their injury and saying, hey, we want to see what you look like. Why? As a coach, I'm like, I actually look – we were just talking about hamstring injuries and Devontae Adams and things like this. And we're talking about like, man, I just want you to recover. I've seen you healthy, brother. I've seen you. I don't need to see you in week 15 or week 16 or week 17 to prove it to me in December that you were healthy. I can find that out in March and April. Like, I'm seriously, like, I think that Brandon Ayuk will have a host of suitors. I think that they'll both be smart, but I think that the teams will be say, hey, you know what? I have no problem giving you a really good amount of guaranteed money that won't hurt my salary cap long-term. And then we sit there and revisit it. But I think there's going to be a couple of teams that it bites them in the ass, because I think they should be smart and say, hey, let's get you covered for 2 to 3 years here instead of this 1-year deal. Because what happens when Brandon Ayuk goes on a 1-year prove-it deal is 100% healthy, and then it's going into his 28-year-old year in 2027 and able to absolutely cash in. I think if I'm a team and I get his medicals and I think they look good, I'm going to do whatever I can to give him as much guarantees as possible on a 2 to 3 year deal. And I think that it's probably going to happen in Washington.
Yeah, it might. I could see Green Bay making a big play after him too. I mean, gosh, talk about a team that has not been able to figure out the wide receiver position consistently. Watson went down with another injury again today. I mean, they definitely could use a guy like Brandon Ayuk. So we'll see. All right, let's. Yeah, well, yeah, they got Devontae Adams and Puka.
Do they though?
I could see them doing it too. All right, let's talk about let's go around the league. Speaking of the Rams and the Packers, so the Packers, the Bears might end up winning that division. They play again. Yeah, go ahead.
By the way, we do have breaking news that I don't think we've addressed.
Parsons ACL
and
Mahomes
Yeah. So I didn't think you mentioned that, but just.
I didn't mention it. Yeah. I had not mentioned it yet. I was definitely going to. So Parsons, we thought that was the case for both, which is unfortunate because it's not just the end of this season. You're looking into next year that both those guys are going to be missing, 4 to 6 games at least. So we'll see how it plays out. Wish them both a speedy recovery. But so the Packers are now without Parsons.
Yep.
That team is not scary at all in that situation. I mean, this is a secondary that it's not great anyways, and now you're not going to be able to generate a consistent pass rush. I could easily see the Bears winning that division. I think they play coming up here this week potentially. So that's going to be rough in Chicago. By the way, I good chance Chicago wins that game and potentially wins the division. But so that's one team that's ahead of the 49ers.
Yep.
The Rams, Devontae Adams had been playing with a hamstring issue for 2 straight weeks. He runs a deep route in a game that was essentially over. Hurts his hamstring even worse. He's probably going to be out the rest of the season, the regular season, I would say. I bet you he's going to try to give it a go for the playoffs. He's tough. But I got to imagine he's out for the rest of the regular season if they're smart anyways. Puka Nacua, I don't know what his injury is, but he left the field. Okay, it looked like a cramp, but then they also brought him to the locker room, so I wasn't sure.
He was back by the end of the game.
Okay, so he's back, so that's good for them. But they play Seattle coming up.
Yep.
So here's what we need
Thursday
to think
night.
about, Niner
Thursday
fans.
night.
Thursday night, I know this didn't make 49er fans throw up in their mouth a little bit, but hear me out. We should be Seahawks fans. And the reason is because if the Rams beat the Seahawks, that's basically the last tough game on their schedule. They have the
Yep.
Falcons and then they have the Cardinals. Those are both going to be wins, right? For the most part. So we need the Seahawks to beat the Rams because we don't play the Rams again and the Rams have a 1-game lead on the 49ers. Now, if the Rams lose, that means that final week of the season, 49ers, Seahawks, for all intents and purposes, if the 49ers can beat the Colts and beat Chicago, is going to be for first place in the NFC West. Like that is a massive, massive game week 18. The 49ers could be playing that game at home against Seattle for the number 1 seed, even potentially. And in fact, if the 49ers win out and the Rams lose to Seattle, it will be for the number 1 seed. It absolutely will be for the number 1 seed because the Packers I think they lost to Denver. They're without Parsons. It's going to be for the number 1 seed because you will have beaten Chicago at that point. So yes, if the Rams lose to Seattle on Thursday, that game in week 18, if the 49ers can beat the Colts and the Bears, will be for the number 1 seed and a home game all the way through the playoffs, a bye week, and a home game up to and through the Super Bowl at your disposal. So the 49ers have a chance here to control their own destiny if the Rams lose to Seattle. If the Rams don't lose to Seattle, then, the Rams are probably going to be the number 1 seed and they're going to have home field advantage and everything goes through LA. So long-winded way of saying the 49ers have a shot here. They really do have a shot.
And is this game in Seattle or Los Angeles?
It's in Seattle. It's in Seattle.
And I haven't checked the weather forecast yet, so I don't know. But today they were able to dodge at a great weather window where they were worried it was going to be this rain game, and it was beautiful weather the whole game. And yet the Seahawks still had to settle for 6 field goals from Jason Myers. So yeah, it's a short week. Anything can happen. You talk about divisional games getting squirrely. We also know that Thursday night games get squirrely on 4 days rest. So
yes, of course.
Thursday night games are never games I like to put money on. That being said, I like the Rams in Seattle. I think that they take care of business in Seattle.
I do too.
And I'm going to cheer for the Seahawks because I don't care. But I think that's a situation where, hey, in a way though, if the Rams though beat the Seahawks, then the Niners like, okay, my dream of winning the division is over. Who cares? Because now you've compromised the Seahawks in the point where now you can leave them in a situation where that could be where you're getting up to the 5 seed, for instance, and now you might be going into a weaker 4 seed, depending on who that's going to be. I don't know. So that could matter. If you could potentially host a playoff game if you're the 5 instead of the 6 or the 7. Yeah, that could happen, right? So I just think that it's going to be interesting. I think both these teams are going to be up for it. I think it's going to be one of the best games of the year. I can't wait to watch it on Thursday night.
We have to cheer for the Seahawks. Like it has to happen. Great one. I do understand that the Packers are the 7th seed now, but them and the Bears play this week, right? And so what we're hoping for is that the Bears, who probably will win that game, hopefully they win that game. If the Bears win that game, the 49ers have the Bears and the Seahawks on the schedule. Like this is playing out really, really, really well for the 49ers. And ultimately, the Packers, with that loss, no matter what, even if they win out, are a half game behind the 49ers if the 49ers can win the division. So really, the whole point is that the 49ers can control their destiny to getting to the number 1 seed if the Rams lose to Seattle. But that's a big if, and it has to happen. I mean, it just has to happen. So Prapa says the BA situation is on BA. He refused to trade and now has put himself in a position to lose millions of dollars he fought so hard for. Got to move on. Well, we definitely have to move on, but it's not all on BA. I'm sorry.
He didn't refuse to trade. He actually was absolutely willing to be traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers had a deal in place. This is, again, go to my grave with this. And that's just not true. He did. You are right, though, Prapa, which I don't know if you knew you were right about this. He 100% nixed the Cleveland Browns trade. This is when I was on the phone with, you can believe it or not, I have permission to talk about this now from him, Ricky the dog of all people, on the phone and walking to Levi's on the bike path. That trade, he was the first to have it. It was absolutely nixed. People say he didn't have no trade clause. That doesn't matter. No trade clauses don't mean anything.
When you have a deal that you have to sign, teams aren't going to give up scratch for you if you're not going to sign a deal.
Right.
Yeah,
they're not going to trade for you if you're not going to sign a long-term contract. So again, Brandon Ayuk is really, 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 really good at communicating to people that he isn't that guy. But John just couldn't. He just got stuck in his craw. And I'm not absolving Brandon from any of the situation, just like Jesse had talked about, like in any relationship that goes south.
No.
But when you're the general manager of a football team, part of the calculus is you've got to know the psyche of the people you're dealing with. And I'm not vilifying or pathologizing Brandon Ayuk here in this situation, but I'm telling you, he tried to communicate very clearly that he will not bend a knee. He tried to communicate to him that he had different value systems that went beyond just merely dollars and cents. And I think that when you're the GM, man, you've got to have a better grasp on that. You've got to stop trying to win. You've got to stop trying to have your ego be fulfilled and fill your cup. You've got to do what's best for the team, not for you. And you could say the same for Brandon Ayuk potentially, but guess what, guys? These guys are players first. And I'm sorry, as somebody who's not a professional athlete, but has had some really stressful situations as a competitive amateur athlete in injury situations, I can only imagine what it must feel like to be a guy that gets paid millions of dollars to then tear your body up on live television around the world and then be thinking, like, do I have what it takes to come back? And then to deal with that stuff, guys, that's my whole thing is the adult in the room has got to be the front office. And when the front office can't be the adult in the room, when they let ego get involved, that just can't happen. It just can't. And it did.
My favorite commenter of the show is 49ers fan 63 says, "This stream sucks. I'm out. Y'all sorry ass fans don't cover the team anymore." He didn't like our Brandon Ayuk conversation. So he took my channel. He took my channel away. But then my favorite part is he said he's out and then continued to comment. So are you out or are you commenting? What are we doing here? I'm very confused.
We get your 62 years old. Okay. I mean, you're born in 63. I did the math. My dad was born in 55 and he's 70. Okay. Like, you're old enough to be my dad. Now I'm 43. I'm no spring chicken, but like, don't let the door hit you where the good Lord splits you, brother. Like, it's just, we don't care. We do not care that we don't.
Oh my gosh. Anyways. All right. Listen, you guys all have a blessed evening. Go enjoy the Sunday. Go enjoy the Sunday night football game. I'll be back tomorrow with Coach. Much love. Talk soon. Peace.